Everybody's doing great. We're going to talk today. We're going to start off with a little humor, and then we're going to talk about who's getting arrested and who's getting fined. It's incredible the number of dealers who are getting fined right now, and I feel like this is becoming more of a newscast, but we're talking about risk mitigation. We're talking about how to make sure that your dealership has its tentacles tucked in. For those of you who are just watching for the first time, tuck the octopus as an analogy, because running a dealership is like trying to tuck an octopus into bed, and the tentacles keep falling all over the place. So we're going to talk about all that, plus a little humor, right after our introduction from Better Vantage Point. Okay, the humor part of today. I travel a lot, as you all know, and I see some very odd things. And I was at a restaurant in Wilmington, Delaware, and walked into the bathroom, and this was there, so I wanted to show it to you. A complimentary mouthwash station. I hadn't seen that before. I thought that was funny. Okay, so getting right into the news of the day. First, and some of these things were reported in automotive news and then other areas, so we're going to get right into it. First, Connecticut DARCARS lawsuits withdrawn. So DARCARS was sued by 3 different consumers. And I have these papers to make sure I give you the accurate information, because there's so many details and there's so many people who are getting fined and so many people who are getting sued, it's hard to keep it all straight. But they were charged for advertising for vehicles, for charging more than the advertised price for vehicles. And these lawsuits were apparently withdrawn. Last year, the group said, quote, "It was confident in our position on the facts and the law and trust our legal experts to manage the process." If I were a car dealer, as I used to be, and I had a problem, that sounds very off-putting. If I were a potential customer and were thinking about buying a car or going for service, and I heard that they were confident in their position on the facts and the law, that wouldn't make much sense to me. I'd much rather hear a statement that says, "We're trying to get to the bottom to satisfy these customers, and we'll keep you posted," or something like that. Those are very raw words because I didn't prepare something obviously before today's broadcast, but that's not how I would have handled it. Part of one of the lawsuits listed the vehicle's price with accessories at $42,238 and included a charge for sales commission of $844.76. I'm not sure if that's legal in Connecticut or not, but in a lot of states that's not legal. Check with your state, check with your motor vehicle dealer board, check with your lawyer, see if that's the case. In these particular cases, they had sought class action status, which, as you know, means that lots of customers bind together to sue the dealership. It can be extraordinarily costly. The next customer saw a vehicle on the website for $36,993, but the store bumped the price to $39,064, according to the customer. She said the deal included a $499 conveyance fee she hadn't been notified of in the ad or before receiving the contract. Folks, whatever you're going to charge better be well disclosed on your website. It better be well disclosed in your Truth in Lending Act disclosure, in your menu presentation, and on your buyer's order. If those 3 documents are not don't all have the same thing, then you're going to cause a problem. This particular customer says she signed in wet ink, but the electronic signature was forged and different and in addition added a $199 VIN fee. So if you have a product that you're selling to a customer, that customer, best practices is that that customer has to sign a separate disclosure for that product, showing the amount of the product, showing what they're getting. They should have the paperwork that should be disclosed on the installment sales contract. It should be disclosed on the buyer's order, and it should be disclosed on the menu. So that's what's going on with DARCARS. Next, up in New England, Greico Automotive was fined $557,815 by the Rhode Island Attorney's Office, $100,000 of which is going back to the customers. In this case, the dealership was automatically adding a product called Zurich Shield, which charged $249 for paint and fabric spray. Now, again, according to what I can gather from the press release and the information on the internet, there was no enrollment form. There was no installments. It wasn't disclosed on the installment sales contract. It wasn't disclosed on the menu, and it wasn't disclosed on the buyer's order. If you're going to sell these products, really consider doing that, because that is best practices. Otherwise, you open yourself up for allegations. Next was the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau released a new supervisory report which found unfair, deceptive, and abusive acts and practices across many consumer areas, one of which was the automotive business. And customers are still complaining to the CFPB about power booking. Power booking is when you add equipment into a car, whether it's new or used, that doesn't exist. That then inflates the loan balance, and then the banks are then charging the customers too much money for the vehicles they're paying for. So it's a double problem. And the CFPB came out with that on July the 26th. Power booking, you should have a procedure on how to handle making sure that the used cars that you're selling to customers are represented properly. That information is transferred to the lenders, and you have a seamless process for that. That will be a whole nother broadcast at another time. But for now, we'll move on to a Boston Globe story that involves MacMulkin Chevrolet in Nashua, New Hampshire. Now, MacMulkin sold a new Suburban to a customer in December of 2022, knowing that there was an open bulletin and that check engine lights were coming on these Suburbans. And the customer, shortly after buying it, had the check engine light come on. And what the story describes is that over the next 9 months, and we're in August right now, so from December to now, the check engine lights come on. Now there's a problem, and the customer went repeatedly to the dealership, and the dealership repeatedly said, "I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. This is a General Motors problem, and there's no fix for the problem." And they gave the customer the bulletin. The customer then found out that the bulletin preceded his purchasing of the vehicle by 5 months, according to the story. And the dealership has just kind of said, "We're sorry, there's nothing we can do." The biggest problem now is that he has to get a state inspection, or he can't drive the vehicle, and he can't pass the state inspection because the check engine light is still on, and it's an oil sensor or an oil pressure sensor of some kind. And so the dealership has done nothing. Now, when I looked at this story online, there were 333 comments on the Boston Globe story. And the dealership's reputation is getting taken, to the cleaners, and the dealer is getting all kinds of bad press. And so, in my thinking, and you all can reach out and tell me if you disagree or have any other ideas, why didn't they give him another vehicle to drive? Why didn't they pay for his payments while he's driving it, so he doesn't have such a problem? during that time, why didn't they give him a loaner car? Why doesn't he have a loaner car now? Why didn't they trade him out of a vehicle into something else that maybe doesn't have this problem? There are so many ways that the dealership could handle this, and just saying, instead of saying, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do, it's a General Motors problem. Another thing I thought of, for example, is why haven't they flown an engineer in or requested an engineer from Detroit to come in and take a look at this particular vehicle? Maybe there's something that the engineer sees that's different than the bulletin. There are so many things that you can do, but just to throw up your hands and say there's nothing that we can do seems frivolous and seems reckless to me, because these customers, you're sending them out in a lifeboat and pushing them into the ocean and telling them good luck with no fishing line, no provisions, no water, no nothing. So of course there's going to be a problem. And with these kinds of problems, people go to the attorneys general, just like we just said with Greico Automotive. People go to the attorneys general. They go to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They go to the Federal Trade Commission. Customer complaints are the basis of almost every single regulatory and legal problem that dealerships have. They almost always start with either customer problems, and often they are employee problems as well. Sometimes people go to the motor vehicle dealer boards. This is how investigations start. And we're going to talk more about that right now, because the next one is the Alaska Attorney General filed consumer protection lawsuits against Swickard Auto. This is another case where the lawsuit is for alleged violations of consumer protection laws in Anchorage and Palmer. The suit stems from 3 unhappy customers, and alleges that Swickard advertised cars it didn't have, and again didn't honor advertised prices. Again, seen this over and over, and it continues to happen. This is from August 12th of this year, and a couple more important information here. Specifically, advertising for the vehicles that Swickard did not actually possess, advertising interest rates that weren't available, and failing to honor advertised prices. 3 different advertising problems. Swickard said the, quote, genesis of the complaint was the fact that some of these vehicles are in transit. Well, the vehicles in transit, you can label those as vehicle in transit through your DMS. Certainly ways to do that. But that doesn't have anything to do with advertising interest rates that weren't available and failing to honor its advertised price. Again, I don't know that I would have handled it from a public relations perspective this way, but that's obviously their choice. The first complaint alleges that an advertised interest rate of 0% on a 60,000 truck. Then when they came in to buy it, it jumped to 3.89%, and that upset the customer. Then at their Audi store, customer wanted to purchase an A4 for $36,295, but the price jumped to $49,000, so a $13,000 difference roughly, and was told that the markup included a, quote, protection package at the cost of $49.90 and an extended warranty for $6,000 and various other, quote, smaller fees. Swickard blamed an overzealous salesperson, according to their statement. Of course, this should have been handled through the F&I process. The F&I manager should have been checking with the customer, should have had communication with the customer. There should have been various points of communication with the customer. I'm sure the customer didn't just sign everything and leave. That's generally not how it goes. Generally, the customer is complaining, tells everybody that they're unhappy and why, and apparently, and again, there's another side of the story, as there always is with all of these. There's always another side to the story. So I'm only telling you what I see, what I read, and what I hear. But the last one in particular, the complaint comes from Joshua Smith, who is later identified and as an investigator with Alaska's Department of Law. So he was told the price, he went to buy a Volkswagen and was told the price of the vehicle was wrong on the advertisement and the car wasn't available. Swickard said it had recently purchased the dealership and was dealing with the website issues during the transaction. That's what they said. So he declined not to buy the car, but then he went back. His first time he was there in September of 22. He went back in March of this year and returned to the store and had the same experience again, including the salesperson saying that the e-commerce team may have falsely advertised inventory to help foot traffic to the store. So you've got a salesman testifying, not testifying, saying that this is what they're doing, that they're advertising inventory at a lower price in order to get people in to the store to buy a vehicle. So again, false advertising is going to get you. Lastly, and I know this is an incredible number of regulatory actions, but lastly, this is yesterday, August the 16th, over 400 criminal charges were filed against employees at Nissan of Shelby, North Carolina. And they were apparently, according to the allegations, and we don't know the dealer's side of this, but they were using a process to rebuild salvaged vehicles and then using and falsifying documents on the title work. One person, Sam Kazran, was, according to the information on the internet, charged with 110 counts of failure to inspect a vehicle prior to being offered. All kinds of other employees. Here's one employee who had 13 counts, 38 counts, 21 counts, 5 counts, 25 counts, 1 count, 24 counts, 8 counts. These are all criminal charges. And these employees have falsified information according to the allegations because they were selling flood and salvage vehicles that were unbranded and didn't disclose it. One employee has 50 counts, another has 49. I mean, unbelievable. So these things happen, folks. The attorneys general get involved, the FTC gets involved, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau get involved, the local police get involved, the state police get involved when these crimes happen. The motor vehicle dealer boards get involved. All these regulatory bodies are looking for bad practices because customers complain to them, and if they're complaining, they're going to do something about it. That's what they're there for, is to protect the customers. If you have any questions whatsoever on anything that I've mentioned today, or perhaps a question about what may or may not be deceptive on your websites, please feel free to reach out. My phone number is 757-434-7656. 757-434-7656. Happy to answer questions. The website is bettervantagepoint.com. There's a way for you to video connect with me. All you have to do is press a button and you'll get me by video, which is cool technology. We'll talk about that another time. Happy to answer your questions. Won't run the meter on you. If you have any problems whatsoever, whether it's any of these, feel free to call me. If I don't know the answer, I'll certainly connect you with someone who does. So I appreciate your watching today. I hope none of these are your dealerships. If they are, call me. I can help you and get you out of the problem, as that's why our motto is we get you out of trouble and we keep you out of trouble. Got that with the U.S. Patent Office. So have a great day, and thanks for seeing things from a better vantage point. I'm Tom Kline. Take care.